Janet Jackson is undeniably one of the most important female artists in pop music history. Throughout her career, she has sold over 100 million records, achieved 10 #1 hits, and has influenced almost every main pop girl in the game that came after her. While Janet has a plethora of game-changing albums to her name, if there's one album that stands out as her quote-unquote magnum opus, it's The Velvet Rope. An album that saw Janet, who at the time was at the height of her commercial career, drop her emotional walls and open up to the world in a way that she had never done before. In this video, we'll be discussing the making of The Velvet Rope and understand its importance in Janet's discography. Let's get into it. In order to understand the motivation and importance of The Velvet Rope, it's imperative to first understand Janet's childhood. It's no secret that Janet comes from a well-known musical family. She's the youngest of 10 siblings, and a handful of her older brothers make up the pop group Jackson 5. Like with most Jackson children, it wasn't long until Janet began getting involved in the entertainment business. She made her television debut on her family variety show, and her acting was so good that it caught the attention of television producer Norman Lear, who later handpicked Janet to play Penny on the sitcom Good Times. It was during her time at the sitcom that Janet would get her first taste of insecurities. In the first season, a wardrobe lady had to bind her breasts because they were developing too big. And by the second season, the producers told her she had to lose weight because she was too heavy. These comments would lead to unhealthy eating habits and low self-esteem throughout Janet's life. Janet's self-esteem issues would only get worse when at school, as she was reprimanded by a teacher for not knowing the answer to a question, leaving her with feelings of inadequacy. Even though she was dealing with these issues, as a performer, she was taught to smile and internalize a lot of her pain. Janet would continue to act in her adolescence, and interestingly enough, originally had plans of going to college. However, her plans quickly fizzled after her father, Joe Jackson, found a throwaway demo she created and practically forced her into a music career. He arranged a contract with A&M Records, and she released 2 albums titled Janet and Dream Street. They were both bubblegum pop albums that Janet didn't really want to do, and they didn't do too well commercially. It wasn't until her 3rd studio album titled Control that Janet would come into her own and gain worldwide superstardom. Having edged her father out as manager, Janet teamed up with producers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis to create a record that showed off her independence and popularized a whole new genre called New Jack Swing. Janet would continue her reign of success with her album Rhythm Nation, a concept album that saw Janet discuss socio-political issues such as racism, drugs, illiteracy, and poverty. In 1993, Janet would drop her most successful album to date, simply titled Janet. It saw Janet embracing her sexy side with slow R&B jams like That's the Way Love Goes. It was during the tour for this album that Janet would become enraptured in a cloud of depression and endure a breakdown. Janet abandoned the public eye to figure out the roots of her depression and realized that a lot of her pain had to do with the experiences in her childhood and teenage years that she had suppressed. She used her pain and introspection to create The Velvet Rope. When she came back to the public eye, she showcased a more mature image, with tattoos, piercings, and bright cinnamon curls. Janet described the process for the album as the most difficult and longest one to make, yet also extremely cathartic. The lyrics would just flow out of her, and yet sometimes she would be so overwhelmed she couldn't even sing the songs in the studio. Janet released her 6th studio album, The Velvet Rope, on October 7th of 1997, right after negotiating her contract with Virgin Records for a whopping $80 million, which was the largest recording contract in history at the time. The title of the album is a metaphor about everyone's need to feel special. Much like at a movie premiere or a club, the velvet rope is literally a rope that separates one from others. On this album, Janet decides to open up her velvet rope and allow the world into her inner thoughts. Throughout the 22-song tracklist, Janet beautifully blends different genres together, such as pop, rock, neo-soul, trip-hop, and electronic. Lyrically, we see Janet openly discuss her struggles with her mental health on tracks such as Special, You, and I Get Lonely. On tracks like Anything, My Need, and Rope Burn, Janet explores her sexual fantasies more than ever, and even includes themes of BDSM. Janet also takes time on the album to discuss marginalized groups that have been unfairly affected by the velvet rope. She slams homophobia on the song Free Zone, while also honoring her gay friends who had died of AIDS on the house record Together Again. The heavy and raw subject matter that Janet implements into this album was a risk, but it undeniably paid off, going off to sell 10 million copies and being nominated for 2 Grammys. Perhaps the most important part of this album, though, is its influence. Albums such as Christina Aguilera's Stripped, Aaliyah's self-titled album, as well as a range of alternative R&B artists would not be here today if it weren't for Janet's contributions. Despite Janet inspiring so many pop artists we know today, she doesn't really get talked about in depth like other influential artists, and many contribute that to the Nipplegate incident. For those of you who don't know, or maybe have just forgotten, when Janet performed at the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show, guest performer Justin Timberlake was supposed to take a breast cup off her bustier to reveal a red lace bra. However, when he went to take it off, he pulled the whole thing off, revealing her breast on national television. Though her nipple was on air for half a second, it resulted in the FCC receiving over 540,000 complaints about Janet's breasts. The media completely framed Janet as the provoker, while Justin was seen as the innocent bystander. As a result, Justin was able to move on with his career, while Janet was blacklisted from radio and music channels. The whole situation completely stalled her music career, and a lot of her legacy never got to transfer to the next generation. It looks like we may see some justice though in the near future, as Deadline reported last week that there's a documentary about the incident being made by the same people who made Framing Britney Spears. Plus, Janet has got her own upcoming 2-part documentary exploring her career that's set for release early next year. Hopefully all these films will give the general public the ability to reevaluate Janet's career and give her legacy the praise it so rightfully deserves. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, it would be forever appreciated if you liked, comment, and subscribed. To be notified when a new flashy video is up, feel free to hit the bell button after subscribing. For more pop culture content, make sure to follow Flashy Magazine on Instagram. That's all for now. Thank you guys again for watching, and we hope to catch you at the next video real soon.